Detroit hard case, this Detroit hitman working for Theo, looking for Picker, determined to get revenge for Sammy's death. We have Art, who just interviewed the same guy that the hitman interviewed, looking for Picker to talk to him about what happened on the tarmac the night that Nikki Augustine died. And they both happen on the same diner at the same time on the same day. And Art has an encounter with the Detroit hitman in the parking lot on the way in, tells him, hassles him a little bit, tells him why don't you just go back to your hotel? I'm going to deal with this here. And then maybe you come back later. And goes in, sits down, has a little chat with Win, and because Win's there with Mikey and Picker's there, and Art sits down for a chat and explains to them, hey, I just want to talk about what happened the night Nikki Augustine died. And while Art's convincing them, I'll say that loosely, the hitman comes back in. And there's a little bit of a standoff there, and Art threatens to shoot him on the count of 10. And Win correctly points out that that's kind of a thing with these guys.
Yeah. Win providing commentary throughout this whole scene is hilarious.
So good.
Yeah,
he's sitting there with his back to the whole thing. He doesn't even bother to turn his body around. He's just kind of like half cocked his head backwards, because he trusts Mikey that much, right? Mikey is there and ready, to do what needs to be done. So
yeah. I like, just everything about this scene is so well done. It's probably it's just like one of my favorites in the past for the season, at least.
It's great.
As far as
it's great. And I would say that the only scene, the scene that I like the best this season that has an aggregation of criminals in it is not this one. It's the one coming up in a couple of episodes where the Raylan and his DEA buddy and the two guys from Hot Rod's crew and Boyd and Daryl and the Crows and Win are all there together.
Yeah, that's hilarious. Yeah.
God damn it, Raylan, your timing sucks.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one.
That's
too.
A great scene.
Yeah.
So Art stops the attempted assassination of Picker by basically making the Detroit hitman kind of back down, walk away. And in exchange, Art says, you and I are going for a walk and you're going to tell me what I want to know. And Win tells him to go along. So he does. Justifiably so. He basically just saved his ass. So
speaking of Pulp Fiction, did that diner it was a very similar
I know diner. Yeah, very similar.
Yeah
It's this is it felt like a very Quentin Tarantino inspired episode. Even the big gun at the end, the shotgun with the round drum magazine on it, that felt like something out of a Quentin Tarantino movie too.
Yeah.
Like something that would have been used in Kill Bill or something.
Yeah. Well, it kind of pulled me out of it a little bit because it just makes me think of LA, right? Like that coffee shop. Mm-hmm. LA, not Kentucky.
True. Yes. Yeah, you're absolutely. That's a good point. I didn't think about that. I have learned. I've kind of screened myself off from all of the California things that show up in an episode of Justified. That I hadn't even really thought about it. But you're absolutely right. Yeah, that diner is straight up LA.
Yeah, straight up. Yeah.
So Dewey, in between meaningful scenes, we get this scene with Dewey, who's getting a little introspective in his old age, and he's lamenting the position that he's in, and he doesn't know what's going to end up happening to him. So he gives away his prized possessions to these whores that he's taken up with. And he gives away his turtle dog, which is a little wood carving, and his gator teeth, which is the necklace that we've seen on Dewey Crowe since the first episode.
Yep.
And he gives them away to the whores, and they immediately haggle with each other to see if they want to trade after he leaves. It's so funny. Like he goes through this like talking about how much these things mean to him and how important it is that they have them. And then they're like, oh, you want to swap?
And like I mentioned before, I think I mentioned like maybe a couple episodes ago, like the talent level as far as the horse in the trailer. Yeah, I mean it's like gotten better and better or raised up. Yeah,
it's definitely, it definitely has. Like, yeah, there was a time when what's her name, Tracy, what's her name, Terry was like light years hotter than every other hooker in that establishment. Yeah. And now it's like, oh, look, there's supermodels in every trailer. That makes sense.
They're all
they're
attracted
just
to that.
sleeping with, oxy addicted hillbillies for $20 a roll.
$20 HJs in the trailer. Well, I was going to say that they're all attracted by that above ground pool.
That's right. That's with the ladder to get up and over into it. No deck even. You just gotta climb in. That's how you know the really rich white trash is when they have a deck to go with their in-ground pool.
Oh, that's right. A wood deck.
A wood deck, yeah.
Yeah.
Might have been a few of those in my neighborhood growing up. So yeah, Boyd. So Dewey is getting very introspective about life, and we'll see what ends up happening with him because it seems like, I mean, do you get the impression that this was Dewey's first murder, or is it because he killed a quote unquote friend?
I think that was probably because he killed a friend.
Okay,
he
talks like a hard ass, but I'm not convinced that he's ever actually killed anybody before now.
Oh, you think so? Well,
yeah, I think that might be why he's struggling. But
yeah, that's a good point. Actually, I think because I remember going to the very first episode of season 1, where basically the first episode, it was just like he's a hardcore neo-Nazi dude, right? Yeah. Part of Boyd's commandos. What I thought he called them, Crowder's
commandos. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was thinking that he probably had, have somebody on his bedpost or notch or whatever, like on his, his body count, at least already by then. But maybe that was his first murder.
I don't know. I could see Dewey like an aggravated assault, something like that. But I don't know. Yeah. I'm not sure. I don't know. But yeah. I think that might be why what they're trying to convey with him struggling here is that he's struggling with having committed a murder. But maybe you're right. Maybe it's because because it's a friend, because arguably a friend of his that he killed. For seemingly, weird, for spurious reasons at best. So
yeah.
And under pressure from Daryl. So.
Which probably builds up a lot of, I don't need to do this, but he's Daryl's like forcing him to do this.
Yeah. Or at least he feels like Daryl's forcing him to do it.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Daryl, Boyd gets back to his bar to find that Daryl and Jean-Baptiste are there waiting for him. And so he comes in, pretends to not be who he is, pretends to not know Boyd Crowder, and Jimmy plays along with the whole bit. And I have a little clip of some of that here, and I'm going to play it right now.
This Boyd Crowder's place, isn't it?
Well, it says Johnny's on the sign out front, but I do believe Mr. Crowder's the man in charge.
I heard he's some big-time badass, huh?
Big time.
That's what they say. I wouldn't tell from the immediate surroundings, though.
Looks like the shark off the skin and gaiters all summer.
Yep.
It smells like it, too. I'd keep my criticisms to a whisper if I were you.
Well, it's just us talking, right?
What's this Crowder going to do? Well, an unpredictable man can be unpredictable.
Yeah, well, let's hope he's predictable enough to show up at his own bar.
You looking to have a conversation with the man? Well, let me buy you another round while you wait. Jimmy, can I get 2 more? For my new friends, I'm sorry, I didn't get your name.
Daryl Crowe Jr.
To new friends?
Yeah. How about you?
My name's Boyd Crowder.
God damn, man, that was cool as ice.
I ain't gonna take your compliment after taking your insult. Now, you got 60 seconds to say what it is you've been waiting to say.
You sold my cousin Dewey a bill of goods, didn't you? That whorehouse, shithole, was a money loser with a bartender who not only had his hand in the till, but was cooperating with the federal authorities.
Well, it sounds to me like you got a problem with its current management. 15 seconds.
Nah, man. My problem is with you, Boyd. Crows want purchase price plus interest.
And if I say no?
It's funny, I hadn't even considered you might say no.
Well, you dumbass, you might want to consider it.
So we're clear, you are saying no?
I've been accused of being a lot of things. Inarticulate ain't one of them. Jimmy?
It's 10 for the beer.
Plus tip. Now get out of my goddamn bar.
I love that. So I have my question about this scene is, did Daryl know that was Boyd when he walked in? And did Daryl just play along? Or did Boyd really fool him?
Oh, that's a good question. I would think that he would have scoped it out already, but I don't know. What do you think?
I think he knew. I think what gives it away was the that was cool as ice right after he announces that he's Boyd Crowder. I feel like that's Daryl saying, "Yeah, I know."
Oh, I thought it was just his terrible delivery.
It could be that too. Maybe I'm applying too much nuance where there isn't any, but yeah, I think it'd be silly that Daryl that he wouldn't know, right? Like, especially why would they make those very pointed comments about the bar?
Yeah,
if they didn't think it was Boyd, like, oh, it smells like the Gator Shack after killing season or whatever.
Yeah. He had to. I mean, he's at least semi competent as a criminal, right?
Yeah, he's pretty good at putting plans together. Although we get a reference to maybe he thinks he's better than he actually is a little bit later. Wendy sends him up pretty good on that, but
yeah.
So the Crows want purchase price plus interest. Boyd tells them to go pound sand basically, and we'll see where that ends up. But in the meantime, we've got two kind of parallel storylines going on. The first parallel storyline is Raylan arriving at the marshal's office to find Picker in custody. And this, you definitely see a little bit of concern or panic on Raylan's face when he sees Picker there in custody. Yeah. Like, wait a minute, what's going on here? This is potentially not good for me. And so he works his way into the interview. Basically, they're trying to get Picker to give up Tonan's location because they think Picker knows where to find Marcos. If they know where to find Marcos, they probably know where to find Tonan. And so they're trying to get Picker to give up that info to the U.S. attorneys and the marshals so they can apprehend Marcos, at least, if not Tonan. And
I think,
sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say that I think this is the first scene in the series maybe where Raylan is compromised, right? I mean, he felt, because I think he feels threatened in the way that, he did something that he knows was wrong, and he's compromised and leveraged or threatened in that way by Picker.
Yeah.
There.
And I think that the only other scene that's even close to this is when he and Winona are trying to return the money and there's the bomb threat that gets called in.
Yeah.
That's probably the one that's closest to something like this. But yeah, I mean, this is, Picker's got everything he needs right now. And if he starts talking to Vasquez, they're not going to think twice about putting Raylan away. Right.
Yeah.
And so Raylan angles for a couple minutes alone with Picker. Predictably, right. I think Art kind of expected him to do that. Art kind of almost anticipated what was coming. And he gives him the time alone. And I have a little clip of that here. I'll play it.
They don't monitor this room, You want proper interrogation, you gotta go down the hall.
Well, if you're going to use a rubber hose, you might want to close the blinds first.
I know why you want to leave. You want